Welcome to the network, the educational podcast designed to help our community navigate the four areas of life that I like to call the funky four corners. I've had the opportunity to interview some of my favorite people with one goal in mind: to help the spiritual, physical, mental, and financial health of our people as we navigate this thing called life. Subscribe to the network. You never know, you might need it. Man, I'm so happy to be back. In the words of the great American poet Lavelle Crump, he was my SGA president. You might know him as David Banner. Listen, he said, I was sitting up under this tree. She was talking to me. She said, son, do you know who I am, who I happen to be? And I told her, the mighty Magnolia that stands tall for the shoulders of slaves and soldiers when the days get colder. Listen. Welcome to the network, the educational podcast designed to help our community navigate the four areas of life that I like to call the funky four corners. I am your host. My name is Michael Prejean. Today's guest is Kyle Adams, a higher education executive, coach, and author with over 2 decades of experience championing HBCU excellence. Most notably, he fought for the historic 1982 Cheney State Lady Wolves, the only HBCU to reach a NCAA Division I championship game, into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. He's the founder of It's Bigger Than the Ball and author of Discarding the Mask, The Soul Sacrifices of a Coach. Y'all welcome to the co-op, Kyle Adams. Kyle, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, Coach P. I appreciate the opportunity to be back on your platform, man. I love the work you're doing. Thank you.
I'm glad that you're here. Like I just told you, man, I value your friendship. Let me rewind just a little bit. I said, welcome to the co-op. This is not the co-op. We've been doing the co-op for a minute. This is the network. All right, Kyle, listen, man, before we begin, I need you to tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah. So where can they find me? LinkedIn, Kyle Adams. I have a heavy presence on Instagram. I'm also building a heavy presence on YouTube at It's Bigger Than the Ball. If you Google the hashtag It's Bigger Than the Ball, you'll get a lot of my different material. I also have a podcast called the It's Bigger Than the Ball podcast. With Coach Kyle Adams. I have a blog page where I like to write some of my thoughts and observations on the Medium platform under my name, Kyle Adams, and It's Bigger Than the Ball. So,
okay. Do me a favor. We had a little glitch there.
Okay.
So on IG, we can find you at Coach KA
20.
Right?
Coach KA 20.
Okay. Tell us once more about the book and where we can find the book.
Yes, you can find the book on the Amazon platform as well as Barnes & Noble. Anywhere that you get literature, you'll find Discarding the Mask, The Soul Sacrifices of a Coach, as well as the podcast is on all platforms, Apple, Google, Stitcher. The podcast is It's Bigger Than the Ball podcast with Coach Kyle Adams, as well as my Medium page where I blog under Kyle Adams and the hashtag It's Bigger Than the Ball.
Good stuff, man. Make sure that you connect with Coach Kyle Adams. We got a great one here in the network. So let's dive in. Actually, let's not dive in. Let's do this first. Let's do this. So before we dive in, I'm bringing something back that we used to do a couple of seasons ago, and that's give flowers. It's important for us to give flowers while they can still smell them. So, Kyle, before we begin, who would you like to give flowers to?
Wow, that's very timely. We actually, myself in a committee of people actually celebrated the 70th birthday of one of my most profound mentors, a gentleman named Donzel Tiller, who was my residence hall director in undergrad at Cheney, and who has been next to my parents, probably the largest influence and impact on my life, as to who I've become as a man and as a higher ed practitioner. Brother Tiller is the reason I wear bow ties, because of Brother Tiller. I don't own anything in my closet but bow ties, except for fraternity ties when we have to be formal.
Yeah.
But I wear bow ties because out of it, I pay homage to him and his impact and influence on my life. He showed us how to tie a bow tie. But unbelievable human being, has had an opportunity to impact young people for over 4 decades. So I would be remiss if I did not give him his flowers this evening. His birthday was actually yesterday. His actual birthday was yesterday, but we threw his 70th over this past weekend. Over 300 people in attendance at the event. So,
man, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Flowers to Brother Tiller.
Yep.
Flowers for Brother Tiller. That's awesome. Happy belated birthday to you, Brother Tiller. 7 decades of life. That is outstanding. All right, Kyle. You have visited over 50 HBCU campuses. What's the one thing that consistently amazes you about HBCU culture that the mainstream just doesn't understand?
Well, I think that, the mainstream underestimates HBCUs because they confuse resource scarcity with cultural scarcity. Right? Our institutions have a wealth of identity, tradition, pride, but also innovation. Our institutions have consistently done more with less. And people ask why HBCUs, and I would say, why not? I think the other thing that gets lost is, and especially when we talk about what's going on in this country right now, when you look at the civil rights era, and you look at when people of color have made the most advances in this country, from a social aspect, from a political aspect, a lot of the people pushing for those changes were HBCU students and HBCU graduates. I think our HBCUs are our greatest laboratory of equity in the higher ed ecosystem.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So you said the mainstream misconstrues
resource scarcity with cultural scarcity
and intellectual scarcity.
Yes.
Man, that's good. That's good. A lot of people don't know that. So when you go back into the civil rights era, go and look at where your sit-ins were. Your sit-ins were in places like Greensboro, North Carolina. Well, that's the home of North Carolina A&T, right? You go to Tennessee, you have sit-ins. Well, what HBCU is in this city? It's Tennessee State University, right? So HBCUs are critical. All right, so what makes the impact of HBCUs so vital, right? Not just for the students who attend HBCUs, but for society in general?
I think I don't think that there's just one thing. I think there's, when you think about, as HBCU graduates, and I know you and I have had conversations, your family is full of HBCU graduates.
Yes.
And looking at it in the lens of how it's elevated and changed the trajectory of our families and our lineage, not just ours, but generations to come. I think when it's something to be said to be in environments where you can be educated by people who look like you, who have the same cultural affiliation that you do, and who see the true value in who it is you are. from a cultural identity standpoint. I recall vividly our professors telling us we were the best and you are the best and the brightest. You are the best and the brightest. And sometimes when you go to, a lot of people tend to view success as proximity to majority spaces. And, you know, I just think that our schools, the cultural relevance of our institutions and what it is they build and instill in young people and how they take that and move on and impact their communities and what they do in their families and what they do in their workplaces and how they're able to build businesses and just all the different ways that you are empowered by being in an environment that really elevates and amplifies your intellectual capacity, your cultural capacity, and just your humanity as a whole. I think it's extremely important. And if not any greater time than now.
True statement.
Yeah.
We give a shout out to Dr. Reginald Rackley, who was my advisor when I was on campus. Dr. Rackley was the first teacher that called me out. So I had freshman year at Southern University. I had a 8 a.m., 8 to 9:30 principles of psychology course. Man, I would show up about 8:45. You know what I'm saying? And he just pulled me aside one day, say, brother Prejean, you know, you could be a very good student if you actually applied yourself. And from that day, everything changed. That was all I needed to hear. So I want to give flowers, man, to Dr. Reginald Rackley right there, man. He was, he was awesome. He was awesome.
And to speak in, you know, salute to Brother Ratcliffe, to be in an environment where somebody expects something of you.
Yep.
That they see something greater in you than you may see in yourself. There's an expectation of you. And to have the courage to want to stand up and meet that. Where, you know, I always say that the people that work at our institutions, they're not working there because of money. They work That's there right. because it's their ministry. They feel called and led to help elevate the next generation. And they understand the adage that I can't make it till you make it. All of our successes are connected.
All of them. All of them. Man, so much. It's so many. Again, just like when I had you on the other pod, on the coaching pod, man, so much I want to ask you. But I'm gonna go through each one of these questions I got here, man, because I want to give you the opportunity to expound. So let's and we're still not into the funky four corners yet. All right, we're still not to the funky four corners. So 1982 Cheney State Lady Wolves. That if you're not a basketball historian who happened to attend an HBCU, you may not know anything about Cheney State. So that story was pretty much buried for decades, right? So when it comes to HBCUs, when it comes to HBCU stories, what does that teach us about the importance of making sure those stories get told and preserved?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking about the 82 team. What I would say, Mike, is that people choose what stories that they want to curate and tell. You know, in recognizing that story, and it has a lot to do with the fact I'm a Cheney alum. I had an opportunity to coach at Cheney. My grandmother is a Cheney alum. I recall my grandmother watching the national championship game in 1982 as a child in her living room with her sorority sisters. And when I came back there to coach, the program had fallen on hard times. And I just felt like it was really important to connect those women that I was coaching to their heritage.
Yeah.
Like really get them to understand like what they come from, what played on this same floor that you all practice on every day was a national championship level program. And there's no reason that we can't get back to that. And really having those women that played in the program who I would see at homecoming every year, really letting them know like, hey, it mattered. What you all did mattered. And I would have them come back at homecoming and meet with our ladies. We'd have receptions to honor them back. Fast forward, I ended up leaving Cheney, but continue to work in the HBCU women's basketball space. And I just started to think about, in essence, at the Division I level, I coached at North Carolina Central, Delaware State University, and the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And in essence, Mike, all three of those institutions were looking to do what that 82 team did, right? And starting to really think about how difficult it is for our institutions to get to that, to play on that level, to even get out of the region, right? To win a game in the national tournament. And the 82 team won 4 games, right? But while I was at Pine Bluff, we played Tennessee and we visited the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. And I'm walking through the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame and I'm seeing little things about Cheney, but not to the significance of what I really believed that it should have been. And I, pulled one of the people to the side. His guy's name was Josh. And I said, how do you go about getting a team in this Hall of Fame? And he gave me some information, and then I completed the application and then started really like a 5-year journey of advocating and pushing and emailing and creating different campaigns on social media, on Twitter, wanting to raise the awareness of what this team did. Because not only did not the mainstream know, a lot of HBCU people weren't aware of what the 82 team did. Being really aggressive and assertive. We were able to get Sports Illustrated to come to campus and do a piece. I built up a storyboard and we were able to get ESPN to do a 7-minute, a 7-minute, 54-second feature that they had on SE Featured. I'll share it with you so you can share it with the group. But just really pushing to try to get it on as many media platforms as we could, to pressure people to really take a look at what these women accomplished. Not to mention that they were coached by, a Hall of Fame coach in C. Vivian Stringer. And we all know what she's been able to do, taking 3 schools to Final Four. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, man, every time I'm a huge WNBA fan, and every time I watch Kalia Copper play, I think about, I'm like, man, I could see her playing at Cheney.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that's like when you watch her play.
Yolanda Laney, she was a freshman on that team.
Okay.
I'm sorry, she wasn't a freshman. Yolanda was a sophomore on that team. That was her youth coach. If you look up Yolanda and her connection to Kalia Copper, but you're right.
Wow.
There's certain women that you could see, like, damn, they could boogie at one of our schools.
Yeah.
And Kalia is definitely one of them. Yep.
Yeah, she got that. Yeah.
She got that swag.
She got that thing.
She can boogie.
She got it, man. She got it. All right. So one more question before we get into the Funky Four. How are you preparing? Because we talked about on the Coaches Co-op about being a male coach in this woman's space, right? So you've coached, was it 5 different HBCUs?
Yes.
Okay. So how are you preparing the next generation of males to truly value women's leadership, especially Black men, specifically Black men?
Yeah.
How are we teaching this next generation of young Black men to value Black women's leadership?
Great question. Great question, Coach P. I think that it's extremely important, one, to recognize in the space of women's basketball, but really in any space where you're a man coaching women, recognizing that first and foremost, you're a visitor, right? This is their game.
Amen.
And I've always believed that it's extremely important that my role while I was coaching was to help support, develop, encourage women in and towards leadership, right? In essence, I should be building a program of women who will replace me, right?
Yeah.
And I've always believed that that it's important for us as men to model that in how we move and how we elevate and amplify the humanity of women, right? I think that men have to be more courageous in these spaces who are coaching women to really be intentional about standing up and advocating for women in the face of other men, right? Because it's one thing for you to be, really gung-ho and on fire about what it is you're doing with young women, with them. But how are you carrying that when you're in rooms that they're not in?
That's good. That's good.
And it was always just very important to me to recognize and amplify that to other men and not take it for granted, the opportunity that we have. This is one of the last, if not the last, relationship that young women will have with men in this way. And it's important that we don't take that for granted and we don't misuse it.
That's good.
So I'm very assertive in the conversations and the mentoring that I do with men in and around the sport, especially men of color, because I think that there are not a lot of narratives today and agendas that look to keep men and women of color separated. And I really believe that if we operate as each other's best champions, that we can really create and model supernatural experiences for our students. I'll give you this also.
That's good.
What I think that's really important. We talked about the 82 team, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people don't know is that when Vivian Stringer was coaching at Cheney, the men's coach was John Cheney.
It's John Cheney. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame coach. Went on to have great success at Temple University. But what people don't know is that Coach Cheney and Coach Stringer practiced together. Those teams would practice against one another, right? Coach Cheney could instruct the women. Coach Stringer could instruct the men. In today's current ecosystem, that would be unheard of. But I think that they have given us a great blueprint for what gender inclusivity can look like in college athletics, but also in a grander scope in society, especially within our community. I say it all the time. Those two, only HBCU, one of 3 institutions to have a men's and a women's coach in the Naismith Hall of Fame. But I always tell people that Coach Stringer and Coach Cheney were genius level educators. But I thought, as we talked about the importance of men, but also gender inclusivity, I think it's important to bring light to that relationship and the impact that it had on those women and those men that they coached.
Man, that's good. You are in the network with Kyle Adams, the principal of Kyle Adams Coaching and Consulting LLC. Not only is he breaking down the true value of HBCUs, he's also given us great history lessons, things that you don't want to miss. Make sure that you go and check out his podcast, right? It's Bigger Than the Ball.
Yes, sir.
Great history there. So I was actually listening to one of the episodes where you had the ladies on.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Man. So that's, that's how I because I did not know before listening to that Coach Cheney was at Cheney.
Yep.
And growing up as a young boy, man, I knew him from Temple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Shaking and Baking, Mark Macon.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew John Cheney, man. So great history lesson, but you pointed out some great things as far as preparing this next generation of young men to value the leadership of this generation and the next generation of young women who will lead, but also being champions for each other.
Yes, sir.
The thing that you said, man, is that being each other's champions will lead to supernatural results. I want to make sure that y'all didn't miss that. All right. So listen, one of the things that we do here in the network, the whole purpose, the sole purpose of the network is to help our community physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially, right? We want you to be well-rounded and whole. So we're going to get into this funky four corners, right? So the first corner we always like to talk about is spiritually, right? So you describe grounding your leadership in faith and servant leadership. So how has spirituality guided your approach to championing, that's a hard word to say, equity, to being a champion for equity and advocacy? So how has your spirituality guided that approach?
Great question. Coach P, I would say my spirituality has really reminded me that that leadership is stewardship. It's not ownership, right? When you think about
that's good.
Coaches or people who are in positions of authority, they're always, my kids, my team, right? And I really have tried to be intentional in recognizing, no, it's not my team. This isn't mine. It's ours, right? I'm always listening to people who use terms like I, me, my, right? Especially people in leadership. I want to be around people who use inclusivity, right? Ours, we, us. I think there are powerful words, but I also think that they're connected to a level of leadership that is shared, right? That helps develop others into taking ownership of what's going on, of the process. A lot of that is rooted just in my desire to serve and wanting to add value to any space that I come in contact with, any person that I come in contact with, and being just very grateful for what's been provided to me, and recognizing that what's been provided to me is not just for me, wanting to share it with others so they in turn share it with others. That's been really rooted in my faith, in recognizing how just in working with young women and having the opportunity to have worked with young women, and not just worked with young women from a coaching standpoint. I also had an opportunity to serve as a deputy director of athletics to a woman who was our athletic director. And that really helped to shape me in the ways that I needed to be available in service to her and her leadership. So I've been very thankful for how God has provided the learning opportunities that God has provided for me, and to help me learn and grow and develop in my personal leadership and how I share that with others.
That's good, man. That's good. Let me ask this.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best piece of spiritual advice you've ever received?
Pray.
Keep it simple.
Man,
It is amazing.
I think that it's extreme, and I don't want to. I don't think we should glance over that. I think,
Yes,
regardless of your spiritual, how deep you are in your spirituality, I think it's vitally important to understand the importance of being able to make petition on the behalf of others, right? For the things that you want and desire in your own life, but also for others.
yeah.
I go and pray every morning, over my son Mason. And I think it's extremely important that I'm able to do that with him, not just for his covering, but for him to recognize and understand the importance of him praying over his own life and for the people that he loves. I know that's prayer is powerful, man. It moves mountains.
Man, listen, the simplest thing, right? Because prayer doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
Can be the simplest thing that you can do. Just something very simple. But like you said, man, it can move mountains.
Yeah.
It can move mountains. That's good, man. That is great advice. All right. So that was spiritually. All right. Let's move into let's go to the mental corner. So I got a couple of things here. You're a strong advocate for being well holistically. All right. You advocate for safe spaces. Super important. You advocate for authentic self-expression. All right. So in your experience working with student athletes and professionals at your 5 HBCUs, what have you found to be the biggest barrier to creating safe spaces for mental health conversations, advocacy, things like that? What's the biggest barrier to creating those truly safe spaces?
Really, I would say being courageous and identifying it and sharing with others that, you may need help. You may need someone to talk to. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. The mental health mixtape for Black men.
Really being intentional about caring for your health and your wellness. And again, I think a lot us modeling it, right? Mm-hmm. Us modeling it, like me being comfortable and confident in sharing. I see a therapist. I see 2 therapists, right? I have a team of therapists, and I'm constantly trying to find ways to improve myself for others. And I think that's the other thing that we have to be cognizant of also is, especially as we want to model what healthy and holistic living looks like for ourselves and our families, but also for the young people that we work with, and allowing them to know that it's all right for you to see a therapist. It's all right for you to talk with someone. I need to elevate the name of Dr. Emmett Lee Gill. Dr. Emmett Lee Gill is, he's the founder of Athlete Talk. Athlete Talk is an app, Coach P, that while I was at Delaware State, we utilize with our student athletes to help them in their mental wellness journey. It's an app that they can go to. They can do mental health workouts. There's different resources available to them to really help them manage what's going on, to process different things that are going on. And I don't think that there's enough talk around what that really looks like. Not just for student athletes, because student athletes, yes, are dealing with a great deal from a mental health and wellness standpoint, but also coaches. Coaches are dealing with great challenges in this ever evolving college athletics ecosystem that they're not really able to talk about and share, right? Because coach has to be strong and he has to be disciplined and all those different things that we perceive coaches to be. But coaches are struggling now, and they need to make sure that they're getting the resources and help that they need, not just for themselves, for their families, but also for their student athletes. So I thought that was a great question. I appreciate you asking that.
No, man, I thought that was a great answer. So we have to model. We have to model. Let me back it up one second. We got to take care of ourselves. Number one. So don't be afraid to ask for help. The best piece of advice I was ever given in my life, given to me by my father, and it was, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yep.
Right. So, and then that right there is the first step in the modeling. Right. So we can't tell, our kids or whoever we're providing service to ask for help if they see something different. Right. Because then we just become hypocrites. Right. And the one thing we know with young people can see a hypocrite from 100 miles away. And then there's absolutely nothing that you can say to them. So we were talking earlier, and this is a constant talking point in athletics. So I don't want to beat that point. And it's just about, difficult parents, right? Whatever shape, form, fashion they come into. But one thing I pointed out in a conversation I had with somebody not long ago was, it seems to be parents that are around my age, right? That the ones that I've encountered. And it makes me wonder where the breakdown happened, because that's not how we were raised. It's almost as if there was an overcorrection, right? It's kind of like, you know what? I wanted a little bit more of this from my parents, so I'm going to make sure I give it to my kids. And it's almost like, there was an overcorrection, and now what's happening, right? So now today's coaches, today's kids are barraged with way more information than we can consume. I don't know. I got degrees in psychology. I want to say
my bachelor's is in psychology.
Your bachelor's is in psych, right? So I haven't kept up with the studies, but I'm so interested to know what the real impacts are for having constant access to information. Like constant access to information. There was a time when TV went off.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing on TV. MASH goes, and ain't no more TV. That's it. The next set of news you're going to get is the newspaper in the morning, right? You're going to get the newspaper in the morning, or you're going to get whatever news is coming on the television when the television comes back on. So I really do wonder mentally, when we talk about mental health for coaches, for student athletes, for young people, for parents, right? What is the impact of this constant barrage of information? There's something underneath whatever that issue is that we have yet to get to, right? And I just wonder, like, okay, so parents, we were raised however we were raised, and we decided that, when we had kids, we're just going to give them the world. We want to give them, this is what parents say, we want to give our kids all the things that we didn't have. Maybe we need to figure out why we didn't have all of those things. Maybe we need to figure that out, because it might not have been a financial thing.
Mm.
It just may not have been a financial thing. We might be onto something here, Kyle. All right, listen, we're gonna get back to this conversation in a second. Listen, here in the network, man, we're trying to make sure that you are well holistically. We are concerned about your physical, mental, spiritual, and financial well-being. Before we get to this next segment, here's what I need you to do. I need you to like, subscribe, sign up for notifications. All right. If you're watching on YouTube, if you are listening to this podcast, be sure to go to iTunes, give us that 5-star rating. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. This is how people will find us here in the network. All right. You are in the network with Coach Kyle Adams, the principal of It's Bigger Than the Ball LLC and Kyle Adams Coaching and Consulting LLC. One more time, y'all need to get at him on Instagram, get at him on YouTube, get the book, listen to the podcast, go to Medium, and you can read what he's writing there. All right, so we've done spiritually, we've done mentally. So let's get into some physical stuff, Kyle. Let's get into some physical stuff. All right. Former athlete and coach, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So how do you maintain the physical discipline while balancing all of the things that you balance? Because we author, podcast host, consultant. Your days can be very, very long. So physically, how are you integrating taking care of yourself physically into that schedule?
I think that for me, I always learn that my body is my first team. It's the first team that I'll coach.
That's good. I like that.
And it's important for me to make sure I'm physically and mentally in a place where, when I was coaching, Coach P, I stretched with the kids. I learned young as a coach that it's important for your kids to see you sweat. And you can't really talk to them about their physical well-being and them being in shape and at a level that they need to be able to compete effectively. If you're not in, you have coaches that do it, but I never wanted to be that coach. I'm in the gym in the morning after I get Mason on the bus. I'm in the gym. I swim, yoga, I jump rope. But I think the other part that we sometimes forget about is hydration, right? And making sure we're hydrated the ways that we need to be, but also being intentional about getting rest. When I was young as a coach, I used to tell the kids, I used to think it was cool to say, sleep is for suckers, or I'll sleep when I die. But as I've learned and I've grown, I recognize the importance of intentional rest. And I used to be able to move off of 4 hours of sleep. But now as I'm growing and expanding myself, I see the importance of taking more rest. And I like to work out 4 or 5 times a week. But this week actually I only worked out 3 because I saw that my body needed a rest. So really recognizing when to take those times for rest, but managing your energy, and just being, other thing I would say that's really important is to walk. I love to walk. It really helps with my creativity, to really flush out thoughts and different things and feelings that I'm having. So I would tell your listening audience, we only get one of these as in a body. Yeah. And it's important for us to continue to do as well by it and what we do with it, what we put in it, and how we move it on a daily basis.
Man, you talking about that intentional rest. Yeah. Listen, the the importance of just, man, take your butt to bed.
Yeah.
Like, go to sleep, man.
Yeah.
Like, like sleep ain't for suckers. Like when we're young.
I'll give you another one. I'll give
Go
you
ahead.
something else that I think is extremely important. Is not sleeping with your phone in the bed.
Ooh.
Putting the phone away from your bed.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that at times. But being intentional about really shutting down technology, not having my laptop in the bed, not putting, if I want to get to the phone, I got to get up out the bed to get to it. I think that's extremely, extremely important for us, because as we talk about our physical, another influence and impact on it is technology.
We have to unplug. You got to stay hydrated. You, especially as you get older, you got to walk. You got to move.
No, Mike, what I was going to say is, we talk about walking and lifting, and people underestimate the power of stretching. I get in the gym every morning before I ride the bike for about 10, 15 minutes. And then I stretch. I do one of the dynamic warm-ups I used to do with my teams. To stretch to move my, to get it loose.
Listen, I got a buddy who is a physical therapist. These are his stretching recommendations. Okay. For every decade of life that you have been alive, that's how many days per week you need to stretch for at least 15 to 20 minutes. Right. So I'll be 48 on my next birthday. So I'm in my 5th decade of life. So at least 5 days a week, I need to be stretching 15 to 20 minutes. Now, this is important, right? So we can educate the people who will be watching and listening a little bit on this. You can't stretch cold muscles.
Yeah.
All right. So make sure before you stretch, right? Do you some type of warm up. Kyle told you, man, he spends a few minutes on the bike. So if you're going to get on the bike, get on the bike. Do whatever it is you need to do. And then whenever you're done doing whatever you do, get you a cool down stretch, right? So I was going to ask you about the unconventional stuff. You talked about the walking, you talked about the breathing, you touched on yoga. So I really want to listen, man, if y'all don't do yoga, man, yoga would change your life. Yoga is life changing. So you can get the breathing, the stretching, right? You can get that in yoga. Go ahead, Kyle.
Heated yoga. I've done it once.
Brother.
It's a beast.
Man, listen. And there's so many different types of yoga, right?
Yeah.
So my sister is a yogi.
Okay.
So not a guru, but so I brought her in a couple of times when I was coaching to stretch our kids out, right? To do yoga with our kids. And when I tell you, they were like, Coach P, when's she coming back?
Yeah.
Coach P, when's she coming back? So yoga, absolutely life-changing. I've never felt better. Okay. I've never felt better in my middle age than I did after doing yoga.
Yeah.
Man, it's life-changing. It's life-changing. All right, Kyle. Now let's talk about
teams. Yep.
Let's talk about money, man. I got to talk a little bit about money. So we spiritually, mentally, physically. So now let's talk about finances. Okay. Let's talk about finances. Building 2 companies requires resourcefulness, right? What is one crucial lesson that you have learned about managing finances or building wealth as an entrepreneur that you wish you knew earlier?
Not being ashamed of what you don't know.
Man, that is good.
I don't know if I recognize it. I didn't recognize it when I was a child. My grandfather owned a barbershop. He owned a barbershop. He sold peanuts. I didn't recognize that he was an entrepreneur. Education is built to build the workforce.
Yep.
You know, we become educated to become employees. And I don't know if I really saw my true capacity to be able to own and build something until my experience coaching in North Carolina Central and being in Durham, North Carolina, and really being around people who had that type of inclination. But I think that we sometimes can experience imposter syndrome. You know, who am I to start a business? And who am I? You know, what are people going to think if I'm asking questions about my taxes, or, you know, and I think when you get past that and recognize everybody started somewhere, and, you know, we talked about information earlier. Like, there's
Man,
tons of
reading
information.
my mind.
Yeah, there's tons of information out here today, but really becoming knowledgeable in building that muscle to learn everything that you can about building a business, listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks. But I would say, to answer your question, just really being courageous and asking questions and really being intentional about getting the help that you need to build.
Okay. So now, knowing that, right? Knowing what you know now, how has that impacted your ability to reinvest into the community?
I think that I've always I've been giving it away for free for years.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like,
I know exactly what you're saying.
What we've been doing, we've been giving it away. And I don't feel any level of shame about that. That's how my heart was led.
Right.
To move, to meet needs. And, but I think that really opened my mind up. You know, people think about, well, what should I build a business? You know, what should I do? Well, what have you been? What is it that you do? What is it that you've been doing? What is it that you've done that adds value to other people? Who's to say that, like, we're the only group of people that that feel like it's shameful for us to want to monetize our skills and our talents. And I dealt with that for a long time, P. You know, I talk to coaches every day who, and they ask questions or for advisement and different things that I know that they would pay someone else for.
Yeah.
And why should I feel ashamed? Because the thing that I think the thing, and, you know, you talked about your 48th trip around the sun. One of the biggest resource that we don't get back is our time.
That's right.
And when you start to put a number on your time, you start to look at things differently.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You have to put a number on your time. I'm going to connect that to your spiritual advice, which was to pray. Right? So putting a number, we're all given a finite amount of time. Right? So all of the gifts and talents that you're praying on how to utilize, right? There are times when your job gets in the way. And I'm talking about when you're employed for somebody else, right? Sometimes that gets in the way of the things that you're praying about. So getting your time back is crucial. And then putting a number on that time. So when we talk about being able to really reinvest in the community, when I control my time, when I can put a number on my time, who knows? So I want to send kids to law school. That's what I want to do. I wrote a check probably 20 years ago. And I was like, these are the kind of checks that I want to write for kids to go to law school. Right? Okay, God, how do I do that? Okay, God, how does that happen? Right? That's a big prayer. You see what I'm saying? That's a big prayer. That's not a small prayer. God, how does that happen? And God starts moving, and sometimes we deal with that imposter syndrome. I'm in church. I'm all over the place. But for those of you who catch it, you're gonna catch it. Okay. I'm in church, man. It's probably, it's years ago. And the pastor is talking about praying for business ideas. And the Lord gave him a fried chicken recipe. You see what I'm saying? He missed it. And he's telling us about this in church. He said, I missed it. But that was the idea. So whatever idea you have that you might think that you're missing, that could be the thing that you prayed for that allows you to put a number on your time, which allows you to reinvest in your community or send kids to law school or pay for elementary school kids to go to the dentist in areas where kids don't often get to go to the dentist because of poverty or whatever, right? Or to allow you to invest in the dentist that's on wheels, right? The dentist office that's on wheels that goes around to the elementary schools. You can put some money and invest in that. So pray about it. And then when God gives you this outlandish answer, like fried chicken or whatever it may be, ask another question. Okay, God, what's next? Then what? Put all these people on my path. Put me on their path. Open my eyes, open my ears.
And make it plain. Make it plain.
Listen, I read today that most Americans read on the 6th grade level. So add that to your prayer. God, make it plain like you would to somebody in the 6th grade. Because that's where we're at. All right. We always talk about God is going to meet us where we're at. All right. So, man, best financial advice. We all over the place. We all over the place, but this is good stuff. All right. Best financial advice you've ever been given.
I've gotten a lot of it hasn't been directly financial advice, but it's helped shape how I view finances.
Okay.
But I would have to say it would come back to like how we value our time and how because if you don't value your time, no one else will.
That's good.
You know, people and you think about your relationships and people who just may move differently than you're looking and trying and striving to move. And if you don't have a level of discipline and aren't ruthlessly guarding and protecting your time, nobody else is going to value your time. So you can't be mad when someone else doesn't come to an appointment on time because you haven't truly shown how you value your own time. You can't expect them to respect your time either. But I would also say having the courage to put a price on your time and standing on it and being courageous in it.
That's good. That's good, man. I want to give a shout out to Corey Deanne Crampton. Happy belated birthday, Corey. Corey taught
Happy belated birthday, Corey.
Yeah, Corey taught me that showing up on time is a sign of respect.
Mm-hmm.
I was an adult. I was well into my 30s. you know, and she was like, no, showing up on time is a sign of respect. I had never thought about it that way. You're putting respect on what the people who put this thing together, whatever it may be, whatever preparation they put into it,
Yeah.
whatever blood, sweat, and tears, whatever sweat equity they put into this thing, you showing up on time shows respect for that. Man, that's good stuff. Kyle, man, it's almost time for us to get out of here, but you know I like to play games. You ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
All right, man, this is my all-time favorite question. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Time travel. And not because I want to change the past. Although there are some things that I wish I could have a do-over on.
Yeah.
But more so I could learn from our ancestors directly.
That's good.
There's a lot of people that have come through the history of the universe that I wish that I would have had an opportunity to meet directly. So yeah, I would say time travel.
Okay. So you travel back in time. You can have dinner with 3 ancestors. Who are they?
Malcolm X. I saw it. Dr. Benjamin Mays.
Remember me from way back in the day. Live right around the corner from Benjamin Mays.
I think Dr. Mays had he had a huge impact. I know he had a huge impact on HBCUs, but you know what he was able to build at Morehouse is you know the forebearings of what we see today as the premier institution for the development of men of color.
That's it. I know you're sick of me. You'd be like, man, Mike be killing me with these questions.
No, this is a great question. This will be I think Madam C.J. Walker. You know, Madam C.J. Walker is one of, I want to say she was our first Black millionaire. And just in the different things that I've read about her, and I watched a really good movie about her life and just her tenacity and wanting to build her own business and how she was able to put it together, but also how others helped and supported her and invested in her, and how men supported her vision and her leadership and really entrusted her. So I would say Malcolm X, Dr. Benjamin Mays, and Madam C.J. Walker.
Are you familiar with Annie Turnbow Malone?
I am not. Educated.
Okay. So I'm gonna let you look that one up, right? Annie Turnbow Malone.
Turnbow.
Yep. Turnbo Malone. Malone. And those of y'all who are watching and listening, y'all go do some homework too. Annie
Turnbow Malone.
Turnbow Malone. Yeah. All right. Okay. Word association. When I say the word budget, what does it make you think of?
Financial freedom.
Okay. Fill in the blank. To manage stress, I blank.
Sweat.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. What's your favorite HBCU homecoming?
I would say, you know, of course, Cheney.
Yeah.
You know, just being that it's home. North Carolina Central University's homecoming is by far, it's one of the best I've been to.
Okay. Okay. All right. So would you rather Would you rather always see the bright side of things or be a human lie detector?
Bright side.
Okay.
Because I would say the bright side because I believe in humanity, and I believe hope multiplies, and I think truth can become weaponized and divide people.
That's good.
So I would say the bright side.
It's a good perspective. All right. Coaching from the sideline or leading in the boardroom?
The boardroom.
Okay.
I want to be, because I think I don't think I know, in the boardroom you can shift systems. Like you can impact the sideline. You can impact who's on that sideline. So I would say the boardroom.
Okay. Will we, this question is not on this list, okay? But just thinking about that, will we see another figure like John Thompson? Because when we talk about, he was on the sideline and in the boardroom, right? George Raveling, sideline, boardroom. Will we see more figures like those men? Definitely, trailblazers, right? Is that path gone? Has that path been covered up? Is it now either or?
I want to say no. We haven't. And I don't know if it's one person, right? The closest thing that we have to that right now is Dawn Staley.
Yeah.
And Dawn has been able. She's been able to utilize her platform in a lot of different ways. I'm gonna say this to your listeners. I don't know if I've said this on a podcast before. I sent the jersey to Dawn Staley that she wore, the Cheney jersey that she wore.
Man.
When during the NCAA tournament in 2022. But I bring that up because Dawn has been able to utilize her platform to champion different people and things.
Yes.
She's going to play this year. She'll
HBCUs.
Yeah, she's going to actually coach against one of my former players who's the head coach at Coppin State University. His name is Darryl Mosley. They're going to Coppin this year. So I say that to say that she's been able to utilize her platform in that way. But to the point that you're making and the impact and influence that Coach Thompson, Coach Raveling, God rest his soul, Coach Stringer has been able to have on a corporate level. I'm excited to see who's next and who will be able to have that level of influence in that way. I'll say this also to further the point of your question. For a long time, Coach P, I talked a lot. I would tweet about it, and I've talked about it on a podcast. We don't see coaches that have that same level of social and political impact like a Coach Cheney, like a Coach Raveling, like a Coach Stringer, like a Coach Thompson. Where are those coaches? How come no one is speaking up or being active in that way? And what it really made me realize is it's on us to be those coaches today. We don't need to wait on a savior. It's not for Shaka Smart or Dawn Staley to step up and be that. We can be those same pillars and conduits of social action and change through our platform of coaching at the youth level, at the high school level, at the college level, right? I asked the question in a lot, when with our parents today, they really have to spend more time really vetting who it is they're sending their children to play for. And
yes,
I don't care what your NIL is. I don't care what the cost of attendance check looks like. I don't care what the gear looks like. I don't care how nice the gym is. We have to operate in a level of agency and allowing our children to play for people who care and are committed to, they're just not raping from our community, right?
Yeah.
That they're committed to building and growing and developing our community, right? That young man comes to that institution, he plays for that coach, and he's developed in a way that he can go back in and build his community.
Yes.
Far too much are our young people being extracted for our communities to add value to institutions and communities that don't value their humanity. So I don't know if that was your question.
No, but that's the connection, right? That's how that's connected, right? Because I'm not going to mention his name.
Yeah.
There are a few coaches that I'm thinking about that I won't mention their names, but time has revealed their true nature. Time has revealed their true nature. So moms, dads, parents, aunties, uncles, grandmas, handlers, whoever you are, have your kids go somewhere where they're truly cared about. They have to be cared about. They cannot be. Bill Rhoden wrote the book years ago. It's called $40 Million Slaves. Controversial title, but you need to read it, especially mom, dad, especially if you have an athletically talented son or daughter who has the opportunity to go and make money doing this thing. Athletics can definitely be a vehicle. I am not against athletics being a vehicle, but athletics cannot be the be all end all, right? You don't want athletics to be the vehicle that ends up, because of where they go to school, ends up being the cause of a wreck. Let me get off that soapbox. All right, Kyle. Let me keep going through here, man. Would you rather have unlimited resources for 1 year or make lasting change for 10 years with limited means?
Lasting change with limited resources. Because I think one of the things that we sometimes misconstrue, we think resources are buildings and new gyms and resource. I'm a firm believer in the greatest of all of our resources is human resource.
That's right.
And who are the people that are pouring into my child on a daily basis? Who are the people? Do these people truly care or are invested in the growth and development of my child past what it is they benefit from it?
You know what I want to know? And this is in the future, 25 years from now, because we are in the trainer age, right? Everybody's got to have a trainer. We're playing sports year round. Okay. So just real quick, Kyle, your opinion, best basketball player ever.
Best basketball player ever, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. All right. Best football player, regardless of position. What do you think? Best to ever play the game.
Walter Payton.
Okay. Baseball. Best baseball player.
Jackie Robinson.
Okay. So here's where I'm going with this. So 25 years from now, I want to know if any of these kids coming up in this age are better than those people we just mentioned. Because Jackie Robinson wasn't going to the batting cages 5 nights a week. Walter Payton wasn't running through cones all summer long going to camps. Okay. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. All he needed to be pissed off was to be cut from the JV team. That's it. And then when the Pistons start slamming him, he got in the weight room. So I want to know 25 years from now, are we going to find somebody greater than these guys?
That's a great question.
That's a whole nother podcast for another.
It is because
all right.
what it is it is another podcast. When we were younger, basketball was a sport for poor people.
Yep.
Basketball is no longer a sport for impoverished people.
Man,
it's a sport for the middle class. If your son can't, or son or daughter can't play on the AAU team, they can't play. If they can't travel, they can't play. Because kids aren't outside. I drive by a court today. Kids ain't out there boogieing. Nope. We was out there every day.
Every day. Feet burning on that concrete.
On the blacktop, on that concrete.
Man, listen.
So that's a
the professionalization of youth sports.
Yeah.
Capitalism. So like I actually put that on X one day. I was like, man, I hope our sport doesn't become a money sport. And one AAU coach hit me back. He was like, too late, coach.
Too late.
And it's next question. All right, here we go, coach. What current day athlete do you believe could have or would have benefited from the HBCU experience? Oh, I love your answer. Love your answer for this.
Serena Williams.
Yeah.
I think Serena would have been a cultural icon. I mean, not that she's not now, but could you imagine her in that environment?
Man.
And how it would amplify and elevate even more tennis at our schools. I had an opportunity, Coach P, while I was at Delaware State. One of the sports that I supervised was tennis. And I got an opportunity to go to the HBCU tennis tournament in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was, and you have to be in that type of environment, you can only imagine how much Venus, Serena, Naomi, these different people have impacted young HBCU students, students of color who want to play, who love tennis. You know what I mean? So I would definitely say Serena.
Man, wow. So Serena, if this happens to ever come across your eyes or your ears, I'm guessing that you probably got some college left, right? I don't know if you've taken any college courses, but why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
J.R. Smith did it.
You know what I'm saying? He went back, played some golf, right?
He's still there. He's actually still there.
Okay. So you don't have to go and play. I doubt if you actually could play because you were pro already, but you could definitely coach. I'm just saying.
Coach P put it out there.
I'm just saying, Serena. I'm just saying. All right, Kyle, man, listen. We got two tiny segments left on this thing. Man, we could talk all day.
Yeah.
But this segment is called Good Medicine. Okay. So what we do here in Good Medicine is we like to prescribe something for our listeners or watchers. So what's one book, piece of music, podcast, documentary, whatever that has been life-changing for you that you want to prescribe for our listening or watching audience? What do you have for Good Medicine?
There's so many books. So this is something that I'm reading right now. Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott.
Okay. Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott.
It's really, really good. This I'm going to share this with you. This is a cheat code. The Leadership Challenges by James Coons and Barry Posner. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this.
Okay. The Leadership Challenge. Okay. That's good. That's good.
Really, really good in helping you to develop your leadership capacity. Documentaries. I'll tell you a really good documentary that I think your listeners should watch. It's on Netflix. It's called Amend.
Amend. Okay.
It deals with it came out a couple years ago, and it really talks about the 13th and 14th Amendment and how what we're seeing today is kind of coming to fruition, with the rolling back of some of our liberties and freedoms. Amend is a really, really good documentary. Think of a great podcast. I'm not going to give you a podcast per se. I'm going to tell your listeners, I'm a big believer in personal development and listening to different things in the car. One of the first things that I ever listened to in my growth and development was a recording called The Strangest Secret by a man named Earl Nightingale.
Yeah. I got that one on my to-do list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was first recorded in the 1950s. And it still is as powerful as it is today as it was when it was recorded in the 1950s. This book, and I want to share it. It's called A Shelter in a Time of Storm. A Shelter in a Time of Storm: How Black Colleges Foster Generations of Leadership and Activism. It's written by a man named Dr. Jelani M. Favors. And it really dives into 8 different HBCUs and their significance in how they develop leadership and were on the forefront of activism, as throughout civil rights and until this day. Really, 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 really good book. If you're someone that is passionate about historically Black colleges and universities, I would definitely recommend Shelter in a Time of Storm by Dr. Jelani M. Favors.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Man, listen, my reading list is getting longer and longer with the number of books I got to read. That's all good. Kyle, man, this brings us to the very last thing in this podcast. This is called You Didn't Ask. Okay. So here's what we do here. Here's your opportunity to give the audience one piece of advice that they didn't ask for, but you're going to give it to them anyway. So what do you have for You Didn't Ask?
Stop negotiating your worth with people who can't afford your vision. Some doors aren't closed because you lack talent. They're closed because your destiny requires a different hallway. You know, doors are closed, and I say that to you not from some sage advice, because I deal with it in my own life. Yeah. And we sometimes get frustrated when doors are closed. But if we're prayerful and faithful people, you know, God's rejection is only redirection. So your worth, you are worthy, and let no one, nobody, or anything tell you different.
Listen, you heard the man. You are worthy. Don't be negotiating with folks who don't even understand your worth. You understand? You understand what he's saying? Listen, this is the network. We have been in here with Kyle Adams of Kyle Adams Coaching and Consulting, LLC. Kyle is the founder of It's Bigger Than the Ball, LLC. He equips coaches, educators, institutions, and organizations with transformational leadership, wellness strategies, team building, and thought leadership. In case you didn't know, Kyle is deeply committed to HBCU advocacy, and so are you now, because you spent this time here with us in the network. Listen, if you are listening to the audio podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. If you are listening by podcast, be sure to go to iTunes, give us that 5-star rating, then tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend so you can find us here in the network. Follow Podcast with Prejean on Instagram. Follow Podcast with Prejean on Facebook. Always check the show notes for the good medicine and the one thing that you didn't ask for, but we gave it to you anyway. This is the network, the educational podcast designed to help you physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially as you navigate through this thing called life. Subscribe to the network. You never know, you might need it. Signing off. New year, new season of the network. For Kyle Adams, I'm Michael Prejean. Until next time, I need y'all to do one thing, and that's make love the culture. Peace.
Peace.